Welcome to Weasel Gaming, and today we're going to be looking at the Relentless Flame Sun and Moon Theme Deck. It's from the Team Up set. This deck is absolutely amazing. It is a fire deck, almost entirely fire-based, although there is some psychic and one colorless in there. Those psychics make up a big play. However, they don't use psychic energy, so you have 20 fire energy, and that's all you're using is fire energy in this deck. Now, this deck is great. It's incredibly flexible, incredibly powerful. It dominated Sun and Moon. It's still very competitive in Sword and Shield. I expect it to stay competitive throughout Sword and Shield, and it could honestly still be competitive in the next generation even. It is that powerful, it is that flexible. And you'll see why as we go through this information. So let's go ahead, we'll jump right into it and we'll start looking at our Pokemon. So to start with, we always want to look at our starters. These are the Pokemon that you want to see right off the start in your initial hand. These are the first ones you want to be laying on the board. Farfetch is our only colorless Pokemon in the deck. 80 health. The main draw here is Collect, which draws 2 cards. It's a pretty efficient play for 1 energy. If you have Farfetch at the start of the game, that's how you want to go, and start drawing those cards. You also have Nidoran. Nidoran's not a bad choice with 60 health. The main draw here is Call for Family. Allows you to search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. Now, this deck is extremely powerful, but does need a couple basic Pokemons to get going. Those being your Ponyta and your Charmander. So, it's not a bad idea to either use this to either pick another Nidoran out of the deck, or to get those other Pokemon down, depending on what's in your hand. The other potential starter for you is Ponyta and or Rapidash. Ponyta's not bad for a starter. 70 health, that 2 energy stomp attack has a potential of doing 40 damage, which isn't horrible. Rapidash, however, is really great. For only that same 2 energy, you have the agility attack that does 60 damage on a 100 health Pokemon. We'll be talking more about Rapidash later because Rapidash is a pretty important part of this deck. And oftentimes underutilized, honestly. But that's another great starter because it's cheap to play. If you happen to have Rapidash and Ponyta in your hand, you can really get going early and start doing some really good damage and set yourself up for a good early lead. You also have another potential here with Charmander and Charmeleon. Charmander only has 70 health, but has a 30 damage attack for 1 energy. As a starter, that's pretty powerful. The problem is you do have to discard an energy from the Pokemon. So it can eat up a lot of your early energy, which isn't great. Charmeleon, however, 90 health, has a 2 energy Fire Fang for 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is also burned. So that damage adds up real quickly. Makes Charmeleon a really enticing early Pokemon if you happen to have Charmander and Charmeleon together. However, it's really best to keep these guys to the side for your Charizards. You don't want to risk losing a Charmeleon early on, but it can be played if you don't have other options. Now for defense, the big one we're looking at here, really the only one we're looking at here, is Rapidash. 100 health is not all that impressive. Their attack damage of either Searing Flame, which is 20 damage, and you burn them, or agility for 60 damage, which is the way you usually will be going, is not a huge amount of damage. However, with agility, you get to flip a coin. And if you flip heads, your Pokemon, Rapidash, prevents all effects and damage. So Rapidash effectively becomes immune during your opponent's turn. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen agility turn a game. I've seen agility land 5 times in a row with heads, making Rapidash immune for 5 turns. dishing out 60 damage each turn, getting that shield each turn, allowing you to stock up energy on other Pokemon that can come in after Rapidash is finally knocked out. Rapidash, with that agility, can absolutely turn the tide of a game. So do not discount that power. Now we're going to move on to our power players. Rapidash isn't a heavy hitter, but that defense is nice. However, you do have some great heavy hitters here. Your Charizard line is the first one we'll talk about here. We've already talked about Charmander and Charmeleon. Charizard has 150 health. The ability Roaring Resolve allows you, once during your turn before your attack, you may put 2 energy counters on, or 2 damage counters on this Pokemon. If you do, search your deck for 2 energy cards and attach them to this Pokemon. That allows you to put the 2 energy you need from the deck directly onto this card. The 2 energy attack, Continuous Blaze Ball, does 30 damage plus you discard all energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 50 more damage for each card you discarded this way. So if you have 2 energy on here, you're going to do 130 damage, which is pretty decent right off the start. However, you don't have to stop at 2 energy. By placing an energy on Charizard, then using Roaring Resolve, that gets you up to 180 damage. If you have Charizard on your bench and you go ahead and build up 2 energy just through your normal play, then put Charizard out there and do a Roaring Resolve, that bumps you up to 230 damage. And keep in mind that you do not have to put 2 energy on for Roaring Reserve. You can just do 1 if you want, so that you're not wasting energy with your attack. Charizard, however, can be really custom guided to what you're attacking. If you have less than 130 health in your opponent's Pokemon, then you use Roaring Resolve, hit them with Continuous Blaze Ball, and you're good. If they're higher health than that, you can put an energy on them, and then you have a 3 energy Continuous Blaze Ball. If you stock a couple energy on them early, you can knock out literally anything that you can face. So Charizard is a major heavy hitter. Now you are going to burn through a lot of energy with Charizard, but there are ways around that, and we'll come to those later. Your other big hitter that often gets forgotten is in the Nidoran, Nidorina, Nidoqueen line. Now Nidoqueen is huge for the flexibility in your deck. When you have Nidoqueen on your deck, they have Queen's Call. When you have them on the bench, or in the active spot, I should say. Once during your turn, before your attack, you may search your deck for a Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon GX or Pokemon EX, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. You have 2 Nidoqueens in this deck. If you get 1 or forbid 2 of these guys on your bench, you just start pulling out whatever Pokemon you want and building them up however you want. It's very easy to start putting together Charizards, Rapidashes, whatever you want to respond to the enemy. If I'm in a tight spot, I'm going to use Nidoqueen to build up an attacker like Rapidash or Charizard. If I'm not in a tight spot, I'm going to use Nidoqueen to get the other Nidoqueen so that I can evolve stuff and get stuff ready even quicker. So Nidoqueen is extremely important for building your bench, building your active Pokemon, getting things ready to go. However, their Power Lariat is often overlooked. Nidoqueen has 160 health, so it can actually stand in battle a fairly long time. But Power Lariat does 10 damage, plus this attack does 50 more damage for each evolution Pokemon on your bench. And that's where Queen's Call comes into play yet again. Queen's Call allows you to very quickly and easily get a bench of 5 evolved Pokemon. Then that's 50 damage for each evolved Pokemon. 50 times 5, 250, plus 10 from Power Lariat's base damage. Nidoqueen can very easily do 260 damage, which is huge. In fact, you only need to be doing like 1 or 2 evolved Pokemon to really be effective here. If you have 3, that's 160 damage you can pump out every round. 4 evolved Pokemon is enough to knock out anything in the theme deck play. So Power Lariat is a very powerful attack. And Nidoqueen is kind of the big hero of this deck if you're ever facing a water deck. Because suddenly, Rapidash, Charizard don't look so appetizing to you when you're playing against someone that's going to do double damage to you. And Nidoqueen can step up to the plate in those cases. If you're playing against another Psychic deck, then Charizard and Rapidash become your main attackers, and Nidoqueen just serves on the bench to keep your Pokemon evolved and up to power. For types, everything you have is Fire and Psychic. You do have Farfetch, who's a colorless, but you're not playing him as an attacker anyways. So you're typically going to be strong against Grass, Metal, and even Psychic with your Nidoqueens. You are going to be weak, again, to Water and Psychic. So Psychic's kind of a love-hate relationship in there. But you do have to watch out for Water. However, with Nidoqueen on the deck and the fast way you can play things, and the damage that Charizard can pop out, and Rapidash's agility and defense, even water decks aren't necessarily an instant loss for you. You can often fight through those and do fairly well. So now on to our supports. We always start off with looking at our draws. And for draws, we have 2 Hows, and we have 2 Professor Kukuis. The Professor is nice because not only does he allow you to draw 2 cards, but your next attack is also going to do 20 additional damage. So that helps get, Rapidash up to an 80. Charizard makes that basic attack 50 plus 50 for each energy. So with just 2 energy, you're doing 150 damage. Can really pump up Nidoqueen to higher points. And is often very good to use early on when you have someone like Fire Fang on Charmeleon or whatnot. That extra damage can really tip you over the edge to knock something out. You also have Cynthia, which is a great card for draws. This allows you to shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 more cards. So if you don't have anything you desperately need in your hand right now, you can cycle it through. You also have 2 Copycats. I find Copycat a lot of times isn't the most useful because it's kind of hit or miss how many cards you're going to have in your hand. In this deck, however, because of the way that you're playing Nidoqueen, you're often playing most everything in your hand. If you have energy, you're playing it down. It's getting dumped off Charizard. You're playing more energy. You're playing any kind of basics you can and evolving them, or using Nidoqueen to get your basics so that you can play your evolution cards from your hand. So I tend to have a pretty small hand with this deck anyways. And when that's the case, Copycat comes in very handy for building that up really quickly and getting back through the deck. Now for pulling Pokemon from the deck, you do of course have Nidoran, which we talked about. Pulling from discard, we have Nidorina, Family Rescue. Shuffle 5 Psychic Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. If you've lost a Nidoran, Nidorina, or Nidoqueen at some point, that Family Rescue can come in handy for getting them back, but rarely is that really a situation that you're going to be running into here. Now, other ways that you can pull Pokemon, you have Pokemon Fan Club, which allows you to search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemons to help you get moving or use those Nidoqueen abilities better. You have Nest Ball for pulling a basic Pokemon. You do have Timer Ball for pulling up to 2 evolutions. Now, those do require coin flips, so sometimes that can fail on you completely, or you can only get 1. But that's a great way to get like a Nidoran up to your Nidoqueen level, or get your Charmander up to your Charizard level, so you can start doing the damage or getting the evolutions you need. As far as energy goes, really the only thing we have there is Brock's Grit, and that's going to be very handy. You do have 2 Brock's Grit, Brock allows you to shuffle 6 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard back into your deck. This is how you deal with the fact that Charizard is going to be throwing away energy left and right. You can use Brock's Grit to get that energy back, or an essential Pokemon or two that you want to get back into play again. If they've knocked out a Charizard, you can use this to get Charizard back in your hand, or to get a Rapid Dash to evolve another Ponyta or something like that. But it's usually going to be used to keep that energy in your deck so you can keep drawing energy and keep energy in the deck for Charizard to pull out with his Roaring Resolve. The only other card that we have to speak of is Switch, which we have 2 switches. Again, not something that we need a lot of tactical use for. There isn't any special ability here that we're going to be using Switch with. But it is handy to pull something out of the front line to preserve it, or to switch up who you're having attack based on the types that they're using against you. There is no healing in this deck, and really no manipulation in this deck to speak of. So with that, we'll get right to our abilities, and we'll start to understand why this deck is so powerful. So the power is sitting at a 5. That's because you have Charizard, which has a very flexible amount of damage that can do a wide range of damage and pretty high damage. You also have Nidoqueen, who can do a huge chunk of damage based on their own ability and the way that they can boost themselves up there. So you have a lot of different power levels and a lot of ability to hit hard. Speed is how fast can you get your Pokemon up to power, and in this deck, that's a 4. Reason is Nidoqueen can really help you get things moving on your deck. Charizard feeds its own power, which allows you to put your energy in other places while Charizard energizes itself. So it's really pretty easy to get going. Charmeleon, even Charmander can be decent attackers early on. Ponyta is okay. Rapid Dash is a nice quick attacker early on. So you have a lot of options, and you can get moving pretty fast to do some damage pretty fast. Agility is how well you can get Pokemon on the bench and get them ready. And because of Nidoqueen, this is just a huge deck for that. You're going to keep that bench full all of the time. Efficiency is how well you handle energy. And in this deck, we're looking at a 3. Charizard is going to burn a lot of energy, but pulls its own energy from the deck. You don't have to be placing it out of your hand. It pulls a lot of it from the deck, then discards it. Then you can bring it back with Brock to get it back into the deck so that you can keep that cycle going. So you can play your other energy that you draw kind of wherever you need it. So that's why efficiency is sitting at a 3. Complexity is a 2. This isn't an overly complex deck, but there are some calls you need to make. What Pokemon to pull with the Nidoqueen's ability, how much power to be putting on Charizard to make the most out of that damage, when to be using Rapid Dash's defensive ability, those kind of things. Resiliency is at a 3. Charizard has okay health, but damages itself to power up. Nidoqueen has a huge pool of health, and of course Rapid Dash has the shield, so you do have some defensive capability here. The type ability is sitting at a 3. Nidoqueen is a great attacker and is a different type than the rest of the deck, which is fire-based. So you really have some flexibility in how to handle different situations. Rapid Dash's shield can even protect you against water Pokemon that just can't damage you through that shield. So pretty effective ability to deal with different types. However, your manipulation is at a 0 because you don't have any other manipulation cards. There's nothing you're going to really do to the enemy to do much of anything. So this deck really relies on its flexibility. Nidoqueen to pull different cards at the right time, get your bench set up. Charizard's ability to power up his own energy reserves for his attacks. Rapid Dash's defensive abilities and pretty early attack ability. It's a very extremely flexible deck that holds up well now in Sword and Shield, was amazingly powerful in Sun and Moon. I think will continue to be powerful for the rest of Sword and Shield and maybe into the next generation because of how good and how flexible these cards are. I've had a chance to even look at the new Charizard deck, and while there is some interesting play in that deck, I really think I prefer Relentless Flame over that deck, and we're talking several different releases since then with some power creep. So all in all, big fan of Relentless Flame. If you get a chance to check it out, play that deck, pick it up. It's a great one to have in reserve for your theme deck play. So hopefully you learned a little bit more about this deck, how to play it, how to counter it if you're playing against it. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.